So, welcome to the final edition of our JavaScript training. This is going to be a very short video because we have covered most of the basic things that you need to know as a beginner in JavaScript. We have covered aspects like objects, object methods. We have covered arrays, and so many other aspects of JavaScript. But there is this part of JavaScript that is very, very important to a beginner, and that is the loop. Now, a loop helps us to be able to iter or to run a code when some conditions are met, or to run a series of events when some actions are met. Take for instance here that we have an array of values, and we want to make sure that whenever a condition is met, that all the members of this array are returned to our user. So for instance, you want to list all the members of your club. Maybe you have a website for your club and all the members of the club are registered in the club. Now, if you want to list all of them, you don't start writing the members of the club one after the other. You only loop members of the club, and the code will run over and over, repeating the event and giving you all the names of the members. So this is what actually happened here. So we have an array of cars, and we have this for loop. This is a for loop, and this for loop takes a condition which is I is less than car.length. So car.length is used to identify the length of the item. Let me just show you what I meant. So let's have a variable called age. So let age be, let's have it as Richard, and in a case where we want to know the length of Richard, is going to be age dot length. Okay, and you will see that it will give me 7, and the reason why it is giving me 7 is because it has counted the number of characters that make up this variable. Let's count it: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is 7 characters that make up this thing. If I should change this to Anthony, it's still 7, or let's say Ant, is going to give us 3. So this is counting the number of characters that make up this. Okay, so here we said let I be 0. Now, and anywhere I is less than the length of the car, and you know that I is 0, and since I is less than the length of the car, which is this length is 3, the length of this one is 5, the length of this one is 4, the length of this one is 4, the length of this one is 4. So all these things are greater than 0. So this is this is the condition that we want to test. So this condition is automatically true. So whenever this condition is automatically true and we increment, so we are now incrementing the car, and if we come here and print the text, it's going to give us all these values. And let's make this 3 so that you see what I actually meant. Now you will see that for any place where I is less than 3, so it's going to remove all those ones that are less than 3, okay, that are less than 3. So you can see this was removed. Which other one was removed? A lot of them were removed, leaving the Ford, which is 4 characters, leaving okay, let's make it 5 this time around, and it is only Audu that was printed. And the reason why Audu was printed is, let's count. This is number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and number 5. So 5 items are removed. Okay, 5 items from this particular array has been removed, leaving this. So if I do 3, is going to remove 1, 2, and 3. Is going to remove them, and then it's going to print from here down because we are incrementing. Okay, if we do 2, it's going to remove these 2 and then print from here. But if we do any number that is greater than what we have here, so what we have here is how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if we do any number that is greater, then the condition is no longer true, so it's not going to print anything. And if we inspect this, we go to console, you will see uncaught error. So in promise, access to storage is not allowed from this context. So this is an error. This is an error. Okay. So, and this is because what we have here is not up to 7, so we cannot say, and so which means that this condition here is now false. So since this condition is false, the loop is not going to run. But whenever the condition is true, the loop will run. So 0 makes everything true, because when you use 0, then it is going to return every single thing. So this is the for loop. Now let's look at the other version of for loop, which is the for in loop. Okay, so we have this array of numbers, and we want to test, we want to iter or run an iteration from 45. That's what I meant by running an iteration is just to list all these numbers one after the other when a certain condition is met. So this one, for this one, we use for, then here is the condition. So here is the condition. So for, then let x in numbers. So the x here are the properties of this object. These are the properties of this object. So each single property of this object can be represented by anything. It can be represented by y, whatever you want. It can be represented with y, and here is y. So, and then we now say that txt, which is assigned to an empty string, is now an incremental value of that y. So incremental value means we are not actually incrementing whatever we have here, but what we are actually doing is that we are looping to make sure that after returning this, we return this, we return this, we return this, and we return this. Okay, so if we do document dot write txt, this is going to return all the things that we have in the loop. Okay, so we can also do this with objects, everything. We can do it with object and so on. So let's attempt doing it with object. So let's use object constructor. So the object constructor, and let's have um, name as Richard, and let's have age 25, city and as New York. Now you can see that what is happening here is that it is not taking the keys of the object. These are the keys of object. You know that object runs as a key value pair. Key value means that this is the key and then this is the value in an object. For instance, if I want to print this object without making it a loop, maybe I want to print the name, this is going to be numbers dot name. This is going to give me Richard. Okay, so instead of printing them one after the other, instead of, okay, now that I have name dot Richard, instead of doing this again, I'll come here, copy this and do it again like this, and then I will say something like number dot age, and you see that I will also need to, use this line break to be able to make a break, a line break here. Okay, so instead of doing this one after the other like this, you can just run this as a loop, and once you run this thing as a loop, and it gives you everything that is found in the object. So this is the for in loop. Let us look into the while loop. So for the while loop, this is a little bit easier to understand. It is a little bit easier to understand because while loop only tests one condition. Okay, so we have let text be empty string and let I be 0, and then while I is less than 10, that means while 0 is less than 10, which is a true condition. While 0 is less than 10, text plus, now this is, we want to print the number is I, so I is going to continue to increment according to what we have here, because we have I plus plus. So this is a little bit different from for loop, because for loop will only iter through the content of what you have in the object or in the array. But while loop will continue to add values to whatever variable that you will have until the condition is no longer true. Okay, so here now, if we do document dot write text, this is going to give us the number is 0, the number is 1, and until the number is 9. Now, 9 is the last number that is less than 10. So because 9 is the last number that is less than 10, it is going to stop here. because actually 10 is not less than 10. But if I use is less than or equal to 10, it's going to give us 10. And the reason why it's giving us 10 is that after these ones are less than 10, this particular number is equal to 10. Okay, so this is why this one is returning 10, whereas this is only returning 9. If you have any question on this, please use the comment section. If you want me to make a video, a dedicated video only for loops, use the comment section and tell me what you did not understand, and whether or not you want me to make a dedicated video for loops alone. Okay, so let's get on to other parts. Now, the next thing I will do here is to teach you the arrow functions. So remember, the last time we did a function, I told you that a function appears like this. You can create a function by creating something like this, function, and then the name of the function, let's call this my name as the name of the function, and this place takes the parameter, so let's say name, and this becomes the block of code that should run when this when this function is executed. Okay, now we can still take this function. Let's make this a little bit easier for us. Let's use document.write, because I don't want to go to console this time around. Document.write hello world. So this function returns hello world. Okay, so this function cannot perform any job until it is called. So let's call it my name, and you'll see hello world. So this is the previous thing we did in our last class. Now this function can also be assigned as a variable. Let name be this function. So in this case, this function's name is no longer my name, but name, because we have taken this function and we have assigned it to be this variable. So in this case, if I call my name, the function is not going to run, but the function will only run if I call name. And this is how we can assign a function into a variable. Now, take note of what we have here. We can still have this thing as an arrow function. Arrow function. So how do we write arrow function? So let's repeat what we have here in arrow function. So what we will do now is we can have let's, so this time around, let's use a different name. Let's have name2 as, and the arrow function this time around is just going to take this bracket and an equality sign with this this symbol, and then the block of code will appear here, and we can then have our code. And if we call on name2, we are going to have hello world using arrow function, what we have here. So the arrow function is the one of the recent JavaScript syntax which you really need to understand if you must venture into frameworks or libraries um, React or Vue.js, Angular, and all that. So you really need to understand the arrow function. It's very simple. It's just the repetition of this. Exactly what you have here is what you have here. Okay, so that's by the way. Let us now talk about the JavaScript maths library. So the JavaScript has a predefined functions. There are some predefined functions in JavaScript or library or modules in JavaScript, and maths is one of them. So here we can perform many mathematics operations like um, round number, like selling a number. So what I mean by rounding a number is when you are given some numbers and you are told to round it up to maybe a whole number or to a fraction or to the nearest whole number or to the nearest fraction. These are some of the things that we can see under the JavaScript maths library. Let's go to W3 School. Let's zoom this page a little bit. Now, if you look at this, these are some of the JavaScript maths libraries. So let's try it. And we can see that when you use maths.e, it's going to give you this number. Maths.pi is going to give you the value of pi, which is this number. Maths.square root is going to give you the square root of that number. Maths.square root. So all these are maths functions, predefined functions and libraries that you can actually make use of. There are so many of them, so we can do other operations. So these ones I will show you how you can actually make use of this. So let's return to our IDE and let's have 10.5 and let's round it to the nearest whole number. So to do that, let's have a number. Let num be 10.4, and we want to round this number to the nearest whole number or to the nearest integer. So to round this number to the nearest whole number or to the nearest integer, we can actually use this maths method. So let's print it first. Document.write, and inside here we will say maths.floor, and maths.floor we take the num, and you can see now that it has rounded this to 10 instead of 10.4. So this is what maths.floor can do. And the other one, we have maths.seal. So let's see what seal can do. Maths.seal, seal yes, math.ceil. Now this we round it up to the nearest whole number. Instead of bringing it down, it is bringing it up. Since we have some fractions after 10, it will call whichever number that appears here, even if it is 1, is going to be as be 11, because it is filling it up to the nearest upper number. But when you use floor, it is rounding it down to the nearest lower number. So that's just what is happening here. Even if I use 6 here, for the 6, because 6 is greater than 5, it is greater than 0.5, so it's going to give me 11. But if I use 4, it's going to give me, sorry, let's use floor. And 6 is going to give us 10, because floor brings it downwards. Okay, so we have math.round. So let's use the round. Okay, so this one is going to round it to the nearest decimal or number, to the nearest integer. So I will advise you go here and read this document. So math.round is going to return x rounded to its nearest integer. Math.ceil return x rounded up to its nearest integer. So ceil is rounding it up, whereas floor is rounding it down. But round is keeping it to the nearest integer, and then trunc is going to truncate the number, returns the integer part of the number. So it's going to truncate the number, meaning that it's going to throw away all other numbers that are not whole numbers. That's just it. Okay, so these are some of the math functions. The next thing is other JavaScript modules, like the random module. Now, the JavaScript random module is used to, generate some random numbers. So let's say, for example, we have document.write, and we have math.random. And you can see that this continues to create some random number. If I continue to refresh this page, it continues to create some random numbers for us. It continues to create some random numbers for us. So this is also, you can also modify this by appending some numbers you want to round to have. Maybe you want the random number to run from so digit to so digit. You can also include the digit to specify from which number to which number you want the random number to be. And we can as well add the other JavaScript maths module or maths functions here, like math dot floor. So we can use math dot floor, and this is going to come in here, and you can see that we can also floor the number math.floor. So you cannot floor it because this is by default going to generate some numbers that are less than 1. So, but if I do like multiplied by, let's say, 100, it's going to flow it when it multiplies that number by 100. And you can see it is generating some random real integer values. Okay, so that's just it. And you can see that all these values are ranging from 0 to 100. That's the range of the value, like I told you before. So this is all about random. You can read more on W3 School or Mozilla Developers Network to find out more of this. If you have any question, use the comment section to ask your question. I'll be glad to answer it. If you have not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe and hit on the notification bell so that anytime I post a video, you get notified. Now let's wrap this tutorial up with the JavaScript JSON. Now what is JSON? JSON means JavaScript Object Notation. JSON values are transmittable from one programming language to another. So it is language independent. So it doesn't depend on a particular language to be able to, transmit or transfer the data. So JSON is one of the best method of data transmission or sharing. Let us see what the W3 School has to say about it. Okay, so JSON is a format for storing and transporting data. JSON is often used when data is sent from a server to a web page. JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. JSON is lightweight data interchange format. JSON is language independent. JSON is self-describing and easy to understand. So all these write-ups here are telling you that you can actually move JSON values, JSON figures or the values from one programming language to another. Take for instance, on my own website was written with Python and somebody's website was written in JavaScript, and I want to, communicate and share data from my own website to that person's website. The data interchange will be done as JSON. This will enable the different programming languages to be able to accommodate and accept the data and as well understand how to utilize that data. So that is one of the very importance of JSON. So you'll be seeing JSON more when you do stuff like API and so on. So it's a very important aspect of programming in general, not even only in JavaScript. JSON looks like this. JSON can take objects inside of it. JSON can also take arrays within it. JSON can take everything. JSON looks like the PHP multi-dimensional array. So that's how it looks like, or Python dictionary. Okay, so that's what JSON looks like, as you can see here. So this is JSON that contains an array of employees, and the array of employees contains these objects. So these are objects, and they are in this array called employees. Now, how do we access these values in the JSON format? So there is this JavaScript method that is called pass JSON. let's see, okay, JSON pass method, JSON.pass method. So we can use this JSON.pass method to convert the string into a JavaScript object. We use them to convert all these string data into JavaScript real objects so that we can actually target it and use the data to do whatever we want to do. Okay, so is a very important aspect of what we are doing. Let's get to our IDE and do the real practical. So I've copied the JSON values from there. And then I create an object using JSON.pass method. And one thing before I begin is let's use text here. So we are assigning the JSON to text. And if I should do anything to this, let's print it with document dot write, and let's use this. All right, let's do this one after the other. So we have text. So let's try printing text. Document.write text. So there is an error. Let's inspect this error. Let's go to the console and you can see the error here. It says uncaught syntax error. Object is not a valid JSON at JSON.pass. Okay, uncaught in promise error access storage is not allowed from this context. So what is all these things? Let's try and understand it. Okay, so let's try and understand this. So I passed in this is a variable called text containing my JSON values, and I now created this object, and this is a variable object, and I use JSON.pass and then pass the text into this to convert this to object, and then I am now printing the object, and I have object, which actually entails that I have been able to, convert the JSON values to JavaScript object successfully. Now, let's target maybe one of the names. So this time around is going to be object dot employees, object dot employees, object dot employees, and take for example, we want to target the first one. So it's going to be the array number 0. You know how we target an array, because this is an array here, and this array contains these objects. So this is an array. So if we want to print this first name here, which is John, we are supposed to target array index of 0. So This is going to be array index of 0, and then dot, then dot to target the first name is going to be dot first name. So this is dot first name. First name object dot employees 0 dot first name. Okay, and it's saying undefined. Let's attempt one. It is the same thing, undefined. Maybe I'm making a mistake on my spelling. Let's try this. Let's copy this. Okay, so the problem was from my I was making a mistake on my spelling. So let's use 0 this time around, so we should be getting John. So sometimes you make some mistakes that we hold you back for some minutes. So at least you guys are saying that you have to be careful when doing these things. So this shows us that we have been able to convert our JSON to object successfully. Let's say we want to target this last name here, John, which is, okay, Jones, which is this last name here, Jones. So this is going to be an array index of 2, because this is going to be array index of 0, then array index of 1, and array index of 2. So this is going to be array index of 2, and then this is going to be last name, and this is going to give us Jones. So this is just how we can work with JSON. I was supposed to include the JavaScript fetch API in this lesson, but I'm going to make it a different lesson altogether, because we are going to be looking into the async, the await, the dot then, and all these other new syntax that was introduced to JavaScript. I'm going to stop here. Please make sure you subscribe and hit on the notification bell. Share my videos and support this channel to grow. I'll see you next time. Take care.